I guess today we'll talk about immune mechanisms. In that, we'll talk about what is immunity and how it is classified and what is cell-mediated immunity. And in another video, I'll make what is humoral. So immunity is nothing but basically a defense against the microorganism. So immunity can be by birth. We call that as innate immunity, and it can be acquired in the process of aging or in the lifetime. It can be acquired. So innate is inborn and is dependent on genetic. And acquired immunity, it is of two types, active and the passive. Active immunity in the sense our body is active and producing its antibodies. Whereas passive in the sense it is passively receiving the antibodies. Coming to the active, like a natural infection, that is a natural active. Whereas artificial induction by vaccines, then passive, natural from maternal, either through placenta or from the breast milk, or artificial by directly giving the immunoglobulin like anti-D. So inborn immunity, and it is non-specific. Any organism, it acts with the same mechanism and it's not specific. And mechanisms are simply a barrier like skin and mucosa. If the skin and mucosa are intact, they don't allow the microorganisms to go in. If there is a cut, there is an infection. There is a chance of entry. So mechanical barrier. Surface secretions like saliva, tears, gastric juice, sebaceous glands, all will be having antimicrobial activity. Humoral defense mechanism like complement system. Even the complement system can be activated by antigen antibody complex. It is not specific. And interferons, which are antiviral, and basic polypeptides like protamine and histone. And cellular mechanisms like phagocytes, like neutrophil. It's not specific. Anything that comes in the way, it eats up. Macrophages. And natural killer cells and eosinophilic granules. All these are cellular mechanisms. All these comes under innate immunity. Coming to the acquired immunity, as we said, during his lifetime, it's called acquired immunity and it is specific. And it's active and passive. Active acquired immunity in that natural, so is due to subclinical or clinical infection. Infection is the reason here. And artificial active immunity here, by introducing antigen into the body, either it may be a live attenuated or it may be a killed vaccine. So like a BCG and polio vaccine, this is artificial active immunity. And coming to the passive immunity, immunity due to transfer of ready-made antibodies. So the ready-made antibodies can be transferred by naturally, like through breast milk, that is immunoglobulin A, or through placenta, that is immunoglobulin G. And artificial passive immunity by injecting antibodies like anti-tetanus, anti-D antibody. So natural is infection, artificial is vaccine. This is active. Passive is ready-made antibodies by maternal antibodies or by monoclonal antibodies. So active immunity is actively produced by host and it receives passively by host. Passivity. And there is a latent period. As there are ready-made antibodies, no latent period. And there is immunological memory, so there is a secondary response, and there is no secondary response, no immunological memory. And it is long-lasting and it is short. And active immunity can be applicable to immunodeficient individuals. Even immunodeficient individuals can take passive immunity or passive antibody. And before going to the actual immunity, we should know what is an antigen and what is an antibody. So antigen is the one which stimulates immune response. And it may be a protein either combined with the glucose, glycoprotein or lipoprotein. And every antigen is specific because of a specific region called as epitope. You can see here the antigen is having a shape and the antibody is having a similar fitting shape. And similarly here. So this region is called antigen determinants. We call them as epitopes. And coming to the antibodies, they are produced by the plasma cells, which are nothing but activated B lymphocytes. And it is a Y-shaped structure made of 4 polypeptide chains, 2 heavy chains and 2 light chains. Heavy chain is around 50,000 Daltons molecular weight, and based on the heavy chain, the immunoglobulins are named. So IgA, alpha heavy chain, gamma heavy chain, IgG, delta heavy chain, IgD, and epsilon, IgE, and mu, IgM. So the immunoglobulins are named according to the heavy chains. And each immunoglobulin will be having an amino terminal and a carboxy terminal. And towards the amino terminal, we have the variable regions for both heavy chains as well as for the light chains. And these variable regions are specific for that antibody. And the carboxy terminal will be having the constant regions. So constant heavy chain 1, heavy chain 2, heavy chain 3. And the 2 heavy chains are joined by disulfide bond. Light chain will be 2 types, kappa and lambda, and it has 2 regions, variable light chain region and constant light chain region. And what are the functions of these immunoglobulins? So immunoglobulins protects IgG can cross placenta, and also it is the important immunoglobulin in the blood and body. IgA, we call this as secretory immunoglobulin, and it is a surface immunoglobulin. So secretory as well as surface. IgM, M for mega, and that is the larger immunoglobulin, and it protects the blood. IgE is responsible for type 1 hypersensitivity reaction, and the IgD activity is not clearly known. Now we'll talk about humoral immunity. So it's the immunity by antibodies which are produced by the activated lymphocytes. And where it acts? It acts in the respiratory tract, intestinal tract, type 1, type 2, type 3 hypersensitivity reactions, and responsible for some autoimmune disease. And as cell-mediated immunity is primary and secondary, humoral is also primary and secondary. First infectious agent entry and later entry by memory. So if you see here, the primary response is delayed and the antibody titer that is generated is low. Whereas secondary response is immediate and with huge generation of antibodies. So secondary response will be fast and with huge. So first thing is like cell-mediated, there is no antigen presenting cell. Directly B lymphocyte can recognize the pathogen. So there will be surface immunoglobulins are present over B lymphocytes. These surface immunoglobulins will bind to the antigen and they will get activated. As the bound lymphocytes get activated, it becomes larger and it looks like a lymphoblast. We call that as blast transformation. It enlarges in size when it is get activated. And as the pathogens are engulfed in macrophages, they also secrete interleukin 1, which will activate B lymphocytes. And also the T cells, which are the T helper cells, will secrete interleukin 2 and interleukin 3, which are B lymphocyte growth factors and cause proliferation of B lymphocytes. So B lymphocytes can be directly activated or activated by the macrophages by release of interleukins or activated by the T lymphocytes by release of interleukin 2. In these 3 ways, B lymphocytes are activated. Now the activated lymphocytes proliferate and transform into plasma cells which secrete antibodies and memory cells which are responsible for secondary immune response. So this is the memory cell and it is remembering the Escherichia coli and it is saying I'll never forget. It is remembering that if at all next time E. coli comes, the secondary immune response will be fast. And the production of antibodies. The plasma cells are specific and they form a clone. So what is this clonal selection theory? Whatever the antibody that is recognized with specific B lymphocyte, only that will generate into number of clones. So they will produce huge number of antibodies. So immunologically identical cells that is called as clone. So B cell which is inactive, whenever a pathogen binds to the B cell, the B cell will get activated, and also B cell can be activated by T helper cell, by interleukin 2, and this will cause the differentiation and proliferation to produce B cell clones, and these will produce clone of antibodies, similar antibodies. This is how humoral immunity happens. And now, how these immunoglobulins will attack the pathogen? Either direct attack or by indirect. Direct attack by agglutination, precipitation, neutralization, cytolysis. So what is neutralization? So whatever the pathogenic part of the bacteria which is pathogenic will be masked, and that will be neutralized. Okay. And agglutination. The cells are clumped together by antibodies like RBC. Whenever an same group, other group antibodies are there, they will attack the antigen, and the RBCs are clumped. This is called agglutination. And precipitation. If at all there are smaller antigens or soluble antigens, they will be precipitated, and this agglutination or neutralization or precipitation all will favor phagocytosis. Now the pathogen is easily engulfed, and also may lead to the activation of complement, that is indirect way, and also may cause the release on the inflammatory mediators here by release of histamine, or chemotaxis calling the other lymphocytes there, or phagocytes there, and also cell lysis. We'll see that complement activation. It occurs by two ways: classical pathway and alternate pathway. So classical pathway here, whenever there is antigen antibody complex that activates C1, and the C1 will activate C4, which is converted C4b, and the C4a is separated, and next it activates 2a, 2b, that will form 2a, and this C4b 2a will attach to the other component and it will activate C5 to C5a. So this is a classical pathway where antigen antibody complex is activated, and alternate pathway, the polysaccharide of the microbe itself with the help of factor B, D and P will activate C3 to CB, and this now again forms the common pathway. The C5 will be converted into C5A, 6, 7, 8, 9. All together will form membrane attacking complex. So C5B, C6, C7, C8, C9 form membrane attacking complex that lyses the cell. Or in between we got a C3B which acts as opsonin. Opsonin is the substance which favors the phagocytosis. So whenever the C3B binds to the pathogen, it can be easily engulfed by the macrophage. And C3, C4, C5A. The C5A is a chemotaxis. So it calls furthermore phagocytes to come there to eat this antigen antibody complexes. Or the C3, C4 will also cause inflammatory response by dilatation of arterioles and release of histamine from mast cells. The same one. So classical pathway is by antigen antibody complex, alternate pathway is by polysaccharide and factor B and D. C1, C2, C3 all will be activated, and it leads to the finals up to C9. So C3B is an opsonin, and C3A, C5A activate mast cells, and C5A is a chemotaxin which attracts remaining macrophages, and C5B, 6, 7, 8, 9 is a membrane attacking complex which lyses the cells. Thank you for your patience.